God's listening to me, and he does answer me. So it's good.
Now, as well as his industrial scenes, Lowry drew and painted the parks of Salford. And there were lots to choose from, because over 60% of Salford is made up of green spaces. Buell Park is the location of a project run by the charity Start in Salford, an arts project for people with mental health problems.
The aim of the project really is to bring people together, to allow people to mix and make new friends, to feel good about themselves, to build up their self-confidence so they can get back into community life.
Gardening in particular can be very therapeutic, and all these ways of expressing yourself can help to give focus and a purpose, and something to be proud of as well.
It stops me from getting depressed and suicidal. I like meeting people, you know, having a chat and see what's going on. You always find out about different things.
I think nowadays mental health still has a stigma, yet it affects us all, whether we're made redundant, whether our relationships break up, or whether there's a bereavement in the family. They're all mental health issues that can affect anybody.
Your mood is, you feel a little bit better, even if it might only just be for a while, you know, it just helps. Your mind is focused on something else other than yourself.
Yeah, suffering and despair and sadness are very much common to human experience. And Jesus, in the Gospels, we're told that he experienced that despair on the cross as he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?"
Just the other day we were talking to some parents of some of our members, and just in passing they said, you know, you've given us our son back, and that was really quite emotional. I suppose that's what makes me so passionate about the project, really.
It's people who have problems the same as I have, so we all pull together, we help each other much as we possibly can, and we all understand each other, and that is the main thing.
Public buildings were another of Lowry's favourite subjects, like this 1926 sketch of Salford Courthouse. As a boy, it was Graham Jackson's ambition to work there.
My father was a foreman on the docks, and my mother used to be a seamstress for a friend of hers. And I was the first one in the whole of this very large family to obtain a degree. It was a real big deal, so to speak.
And a proud day in 1978 when Graham qualified as a solicitor. But at the beginning of last year, after over 30 years in the profession, Graham was made redundant.
I'd never had one day out of work, and then suddenly to be put in this situation where your whole life is turned upside down, you really then, or I really then started to question my faith and saying, well, am I getting anywhere with this? Is God helping me? I was really, really low in mind and spirit.
Yeah. I don't think you can feel guilty for being depressed. It's sometimes, I think, difficult when you're in the situation yourself to look outside of it.
It really was a difficult time. But one particular priest who came didn't know anything about me, but it was just his sermon. He spoke so movingly about you don't know what God has got in mind for you for the future, but there is a plan. And I think came to my senses and said, no, God isn't abandoning me. And I think that I'm being given far more time now by God to be able to do things to help other people.
And the upshot being that you now feel like you have a new meaning to life.
Yes, indeed. Well, I've been fortunate enough to travel a lot into Africa, to see
Oh,
people
my word.
living in the bush in mud huts,
Yeah.
walking miles for water, being afraid to leave their children because of people coming and either physically or sexually abusing children.
Mm-hmm.
It puts your own difficulties into perspective. And yes, I'm looking forward to the future. I think that there are opportunities, maybe I don't know what they're going to be, but God has got something in mind for me. I'm sure he's not just going to abandon me.
The twists and turns of faith are
Yes.
continuous.
Yes.
Sacred Trinity is Salford's oldest church. Lowry sketched it in 1925, and it's one of his views of the city that has remained unchanged. Back then, no one could possibly have imagined that Sacred Trinity would hold a monthly goth night. Goth and Christian Colin Moore is one of its founders.
People have said to me, you can't be a goth and believe in God. And I just start, well, I am a goth and I do believe in God. And goth night is based on Christian principles. And I'm trying to encourage a group of people that perhaps might not ordinarily engage with church in any way, just to get them across the threshold. It's not quiet, believe me, but people feel safe to be themselves here.
What do you say to people who are judgmental of you?
Generally nothing, because I think they're the ones that have an issue, not me. Like my parents, for example, when I was a teenager.
I was going to ask, for instance,
they weren't big fans.
No.
They aren't big fans still. No, they're lovely.
Oh, lovely.
But I wouldn't feel like me if I didn't express myself like this. I know it sounds a bit daft, it's just clothes, it's just hairstyles, but it's such an expression of what's inside me that I would feel crushed if I didn't express myself the way I do. I'm wearing a Sophie Lancaster bracelet, who was a goth and got beaten to death because she felt so strongly that she wanted to look that way, and some people took a violent response to that. Obviously, some of the imagery and music and stuff that goes along with goth culture can seem quite dark. Very occasionally, some people have not been happy with that and have challenged me to say that you shouldn't be doing this, or you can't do that.
Within the world of the goths, or
both?
Both?
Yeah.
So there's been conflicts from both ends?
Yeah. But my perception of Jesus is that he tried to reach those kinds of people that everybody else didn't really want to hang around with, or was outside what was accepted in society at that time. And if we can do a tiny bit of that, then I think that's quite good.